printed on the birth certificate. Those numbers are a security stock exchange. Only cost you a few dollars. Order your birth certificate. On your birth certificate, all birth certificates in this country, on the bottom, it will tell you this is printed on security papers. Do not accept if not on full color security paper. Then on the right hand corner, you will always have a series of numbers, red numbers, printed on the birth certificate. Those numbers are a security stock exchange number on the World Stock Exchange. You go to any good stock office and ask them, check these numbers in your computer and see how much your stock is worth, the certificate. And they will check it on the New York Stock Exchange and find your birth certificate is a stock on the stock exchange in America. Why? Because you are worth money to the international bank that bought you in 1930. We need to wake up. This is serious stuff.
Peace to anyone coming in. I know you guys are coming in slow. I am going to get right to the info. This will not be a long video today. I want to go over a couple of things.
That's good, y'all. Okay, so the birth certificate, right? When you get authenticated, when it comes back from the federal level, it's going to look like this right here. All right. When it comes back from the state level, it's going to look something like that right there. So it's going to be your state. On the federal level, it takes about, mine took about 6 weeks. On the state level, it took about a week and a half. You know what I'm saying? I went and got my, a few of my bills printed out on bond paper so we can endorse those, get those sent out, man. I slid to the IRS office also yesterday. You know what I'm saying? Got my receipt for my 2848 for my trust. I went and got that faxed yesterday. And, yeah, you guys, the receipts that they send you guys for your EIN number, for your trust, or whatever, make sure you keep those because they'll be asking about those later. If you need to mail something to them, they'll want you to provide that. These right here, this is the, it's a claim, tender of payment. I'm finna send those out. Capital One, PG&E. We finna get all that stuff paid off. I went and got my foreign trust address, you guys. You guys been asking about that. I got mine from iPostal. It's about $15 a month. And, yeah, they scan your mail straight to your email, bro. And that's what you use for your foreign address. So you could be a private person. And, yeah, that's it, yeah. Make sure you have your registered mail slips, you know what I'm saying? So you can put those in your documents. You can put those, you know what I'm saying, inside there. So you got proof that you did send those forms to them. If they try to say ain't.
Not inside them, you're going to put it on top of it. When you do the certified mail, you'll take the green return receipt slip and you put it outside of your packaging. That way you have the proof when it's returned to you that it was delivered and when it was delivered.
Thing. And, yeah, you guys, basically, we still on it. We still pushing, still striving. I know a lot of people out there pushing with me. You know what I'm saying? We all pushing together, y'all. So let's get this paperwork pushed. One love.
Period. All that paperwork. All right, guys, let's get to some info. I wanted you guys to check that out. I am getting to the info right now. Let's see. Let's pull up this first book, get right to it, because I'm not going to be on here long. I wanted to make sure that people knew there will be a private screening this Sunday. I have a very, 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 very special person as a guest for our private stream. And you definitely want to make sure if you are in the private group that you email me so you can get that link. It is going to be very important. You don't want to miss it. So I'll announce it again at the end to make sure that anyone has retrieved the information. If you are part of the private group, if you are a part of Patreon or members only, you will immediately get the access. But if you're not part of members only, you will need to email me if you are part of the private group. Okay? All right, guys, let's go. We're going to get right to it.
Contents. Chapter 3. 1782 to 1784. The Bank of North America begins its operations on January 7, 1782. Circular letter of the Superintendent of Finance announcing this fact to the governors of the various states. Early difficulties experienced by the bank. Stories relating to it circulated by its enemies. Rapid success of the institution. Recognition of its existence by Connecticut, Rhode Island, and Massachusetts in January and March 1782. A charter granted to it by the Assembly of Pennsylvania on March 26, 1782. Opposition to Mr. Willing on account of alleged disloyalty. Assistance afforded by the bank to the national government. Assistance afforded by it to the state of Pennsylvania. Assistance afforded by it to the city of Philadelphia. Proposed establishment of the Bank of Pennsylvania in 1784. Abandonment of the scheme in consequence of the increase in the capital stock of the Bank of North America. Subscriptions to the new stock. 37. Chapter IY. 1785 to 1788. Pennsylvania paper currency. Popular demand for the issuing thereof in 1785. Attitude of the Bank of North America adverse to the scheme. Growing unpopularity of the bank. Petitions presented to the Assembly praying for a repeal of its charter. Arguments for and against the bank. The state charter annulled on September 13, 1785. Views of the directors as to this action. Continuance of the bank's operations. A charter granted to the bank by the state of Delaware on February 2, 1786. Attempts to obtain a repeal of the annulling act. A new charter granted by the state of Pennsylvania on March 17, 1787. Provisions of the charter. Prosperity of the institution. Establishment of other banks. Chapter Y. 1789 to 1809. Page. The Constitution of the United States goes into effect in March 1789. Hamilton's Treasury Report of 1790. Reasons for the establishment of the Bank of the United States. The Bank of North America unable and unwilling to discharge the functions of such an institution. Resignation of Thomas Willing as president in 1792. Election of John Nixon as president. Business of the bank in 1792. Establishment of the Bank of Pennsylvania in 1793. The Whiskey Insurrection of 1794. Business of the bank in 1794 and 1795. The Yellow Fever of 1798. Temporary removal of the bank to Germantown. Renewal of the charter in 1799. Increase in the number of banking institutions. Reform in the bank's method of transacting business effected in 1806. Establishment of the surplus fund in 1809. Death of John Nixon and election of John Morton as president in 1809. 75. Chapter 6. 1810-1846. Expiration of the charter of the First Bank of the United States. The Bank of North America petitions Congress for the renewal in 1810. Failure to obtain a renewal from Congress. The War of 1812. Assistance afforded by the bank to the government during the war. The Panic of 1814. Policy of the bank during the panic. Renewal of the bank's charter in 1814. Establishment of the Second Bank of the United States. End of the panic in 1817. Resignation of John Morton from the presidency in 1822 and election of Henry Nixon in his place. Renewal of the charter in 1825. Terms of the new charter. Sale of the bank shares in 1825. Efforts to obtain a renewal of the charter of the Second Bank of the United States in 1832. Attitude of the Bank of North America. Failure of the efforts. Change in the method of transacting the bank's business between. Contents. 1830 and 1835. The Congressional Charter null and void. Failure of efforts to obtain an increase of the capital stock in 1835. The Panic of 1837. Suspension of specie payments policy of the Bank of North America. Death of Henry Nixon in 1840, and election of John Richardson as president. Resumption of specie payments in January 1841. Failure of the Bank of the United States in February 1841 renewed suspension of specie payments. The Relief Act of May 4, 1841 refusal of the Bank of North America to accept its terms. Views of the bank as to resumption. Effected in March 1842 dangerous position of the bank in 1842 reduction of its capital in 1843 restoration of the capital to its old volume in 1845 renewal of the charter in 1846 provisions of the new charter 86 chapter 7 1847 to 1882 erection of the present banking house in 1847 renewal of the charter in 1855 the panic of 1857 resignation of John Richardson from the presidency in 1857 election of James N. Dixon, and his resignation in 1860 election of Thomas Smith as president. The War of the Rebellion assistance afforded to the government by the bank from 1861 to 1864 loyalty of the bank its reorganization as a national bank in 1864 retention of its old title without the usual prefix national conclusion 110 appendix list of the presidents, cashiers, and directors of the Bank of North America.
We're going to get right to the juice. Hold
plan
on, let
of
me
the Bank
forward
of
it
North
now,
America
guys.
submitted to
We're
Congress.
gonna go past
130.
this part.
Alphabetical list of the first subscribers to the Bank of North. Correspondence between the dividends paid by the Bank of North America from 1782 to the present time. I/BAOK 133 list of illustrations.
I'm going to show you a couple of things.
Page portrait of Robert
Bank notes,
Morris.
we'll go to that.
Frontispiece. Portrait of Thomas Willing.
Let me see.
34 FAC similes of bank notes 1789 and 1815. 75 Portrait of John Nixon. 1788 Ufly demonstrated. Its notes continued to circulate at their full value.
Listen.
The difficulties that had environed it vanished, and all fears respecting its ability to redeem its promises subsided. Encouraged by its success, 2 other banks, one in New York, one the other in Boston, 2 had already sprung into existence. In 17,913 a fourth was established at Providence, and Indiana, 17954 a fifth at Baltimore.
Man, I messed it up. Hold on.
The banking system had obtained a foothold in the country. 1. The Bank of New York began business in 1784, but was not chartered till March 21, 1791. 2. The Bank of Massachusetts was chartered February 7, 1784. 3. The Providence Bank went into operation in October 1791. 5. Collections of Historical Society of Rhode Island, 357. 4. Sharp's Chronicles of Baltimore, 260. _T/IE President, Director C Copyright TECT/it/Company of the Bank REAET- of North Ina Caproiwiskai to pay to the bearer, on equals 4 Copyright 1. Demand, 1/90th of August S, E8G. P asterisk F Tendi Grinds.
You see the bank notes?
Reach A carat, asterisk and, hashtag #V#. 3 pence specie. AJTV President, Directors Abe J34. Company of J Fodank of Non. America PE Orbov to pay to RFJC bearer, Orb Dem Abed, IHRENINETIETH Sofadio Augugi 6, 1789. Attention Francis, catch higher.
Now see these notes. I want you to see these bank notes. True currency. The only true currency is a bill in Leyden.
Asterisk, SS 5%. Chapter V 1789 to 1809. The Constitution of the United States goes into effect in March 1789. Hamilton's Treasury Report of 1790.
I want to show you guys this again. Make sure you didn't see it. I know you guys, some of you don't know. If you've taken my class, you guys are understanding the bills in Leyden, right? Negotiable instruments, things of that nature. You see this? $0.25. That's $0.25. 1 penny. This is $1. This is 3 pence, 3 cents. Okay, let's go.
_T/IE President, August 6, Chapter V 1789, willing as President in 1709, Chapter V 1789 to 1809. The Constitution of the United States goes into effect in March.
Crazy, right?
1789. Hamilton's Treasury Report of 1790 reasons for the establishment of the Bank of the United States. The Bank of North America unable and unwilling to discharge the functions of such an institution. Resignation of Thomas Willing as President in 1792. Election of John Nixon as President. Business of the bank in 1792. Establishment of the Bank
Mind
of
you, you
Pennsylvania.
guys know about the Rothschilds in purchasing of the United States, right? We've gone into over this information many a times. The establishment of the banking when it came to the J.P. Morgan, the Rothschilds funded over 75%. I watched Bishop Gators last night. I did post it. I hope you guys watched it. When I say he gave so much drip, I almost wanted to do a review, but his videos are so long. He confirms so much of the stuff I keep telling y'all. I mean, it's crazy to me how evident the facts are. The things I've been talking about for about 6 years now, a lot of the stuff he literally just broke it down. It's like he'd been on my list and he ran it down, like right for so-called Christmas, right? Bringing everything out of the mass, like literally.
In 1793, the Whiskey Insurrection of 1794. Business of the bank in 1794 and 1795. The Yellow Fever of 1798. Temporary removal of the bank to Germantown. Renewal of the charter in 1799. Increase in the number of banking institutions. Reform in the bank's method of transacting business effected in 1806. Establishment of the surplus fund in 1809. Death of John Nixon and election of John Morton as president in 1809. In March 1789, a great and fortunate change took place in the management of public affairs.
Listen to this.
The Constitution of the United States went into operation. A vigorous, responsible executive was conferred upon the country, and an incredible impulse given to all schemes of national importance. Among those now called upon to take part in the administration of public affairs was Alexander Hamilton, placed in charge of the department. 1007.
In administration, right? I want you guys to understand this. Keep in mind the information we went over yesterday. Everything that I do is going to coincide and show you exactly more proof, right? A vigorous, responsible executive was conferred upon the country. An executive that is a worker, right? And an incredible impulse given to all schemes, an impulse given to all schemes. How can we make this work? Let's see. Oh, this was an impulse for them to go into the scheming of banking. Because why? Now they can figure out what they can do to cipher through their administration, right? It says of national importance. It said among those now called upon to take part. Listen, among those now called upon to take part in the administration of public affairs. Wait a minute. You mean these government officials are here to take administration of public affairs? You mean they are our servants? You mean it's their duty to take care of the people, we the people? If you didn't see the video yesterday, I'm so sorry. More confirmation, but yeah, let's go.
189. 1790. Treasury Report of 1790. Hamilton's Works, Volume 3. 126 of the Treasury. Lie found before him the prodigious task of settling the financial affairs of the United States upon a sure and satisfactory basis. Towards the attainment of this end no measure seemed more important to him than his old and favorite one for the establishment of a great national bank. Without loss of time he devised a plan for such an institution, which seemed to him practicable, and in 1790 spread before Congress. The result of his labors. The proposed measure met generally with popular applause, but there were some who doubted its wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
Among other difficulties that were thrown in its path was a suggestion that a new bank was quite unnecessary, since an institution was in existence which owed its origin to national bounty, and which had already, upon more than one occasion, manifested both its readiness and ability to extend a helping hand to the government.
I bet.
With this objection Hamilton dealt most courteously. The aid afforded to the United States, said he, by the Bank of North America during the remaining period of the war was of essential consequence, and its conduct towards them since the peace has not weakened its title to their patronage and favor. So far its pretensions to the character of a national bank are respectable, but there are circumstances which militate against them, and considerations which indicate the propriety of an establishment on different principles. The directors of this bank, on behalf of their constituents, have since acted under a new charter from the state of Pennsylvania, materially variant from their original one, and which so narrows the foundation of the institution as to render it an incompetent basis for the extensive purposes of a national bank. There is nothing in the acts of Congress which imply an exclusive right in the institution to which they relate, except during the time of the war. There is, therefore, nothing, if the public good require it, which prevents the establishment of another. It may, however, be incidentally remarked, that in the general opinion of the citizens of the United States, the Bank of North America has taken the station of a Bank of Pennsylvania only. This is a strong argument for a new institution, or for a renovation of the old, to restore it to the situation in which it originally stood in the view of the United States.
Just like after their last former bankruptcy, right? Instituting a new bank, restoring the bank under what? The Bank of America. Now it's no longer the Bank of North America. Now the government has the Bank of America.
There may be room to allege that the government of the United States ought not, in point of candor or equity, to establish any rival or interfering institution in prejudice of the one already established, especially as this has, from services rendered, well-founded claims to protection and regard. The justice of this observation ought, within 1,790 proper bounds, to be admitted. A new establishment of the sort ought not to be made without cogent and sincere reasons of public good. And, in the manner of doing it, every facility should be given to a consolidation of the old with the new, upon terms not injurious to the parties concerned.
But
there is no ground to maintain that in a case in which the government
has been injurious to the parties concerned. Who are the parties that are concerned when it comes to banking? The American people, we the people. So it has been injurious to the parties concerned. And this is a concern that they had as far as the banking not being fair to the people.
Has made no condition restricting its authority.
They're using it.
It ought voluntarily to restrict it, through regard to the interests of a particular institution, when those of the state dictate a different course, especially too after such circumstances have intervened, as characterize the actual situation of the Bank of North America. If the objections, which have been stated, to the Constitution of the Bank of North America, are admitted to be well-founded, they will, nevertheless, not derogate from the merit of the main design, or of the services which that bank has rendered, or of the benefits which it has produced. The creation of...
So, what are the services that the bank is bound to? The services that the bank has rendered, or of the benefits which it has produced. All of the services, it's supposed to do what? It's supposed to be assisting with trading. It's supposed to be assisting with bills of exchange. It's supposed to be assisting with all the things that are laid under the law for you to have remedies, so on and so forth. It's supposed to extend the service between you and the Treasury. But it seems that they have a whole nother thing they got going now, right? That's only going on because you're not aware and you're not putting yourself in the proper place or the proper position of the beneficiary of the trustee account that they are responsible for managing as being people that operate Securities and the Exchange Commission.
Such an institution, at the time it took place, was a measure dictated by wisdom. Its utility has been amply evinced by its fruits. American independence owes much to it. The Secretary begs leave to conclude with this general observation, that if the Bank
Hold
of
on.
North
What
America
did it say?
shall...
Just to clarify, make sure y'all heard that. It says American independence owes much to it. Oh, is this because before that time they were actually using the banknotes the correct and proper way? The people were being able to use it the proper way until they started stifling things and doing things misappropriately, right? So at that time, the American independence was dependent on the bank because of the new system that was implied. So at the first start, of course, they're going to have everything operating sufficiently. You go in, you sign, you do whatever you need to do. But now they put statutes, legalities, acts into place so that you're not able to fundamentally know how to operate sufficiently. This is why you have to study to show yourself approved, right?
Come forward with any propositions, which have for their object the engrafting upon that institution the characteristics which shall appear to the legislature necessary to the due extent and safety of a national bank. There are, in his judgment, weighty inducements to giving every reasonable facility to the measure. Not only the pretensions of that institution, from its original relation to the government of the United States, and from the services it has rendered, are such as to claim a disposition favorable to it, if those who are interested in it are willing, on their part, to place it on a footing satisfactory to the government, and equal.
So, upon the services, right? Now, look at this. Make sure you understood that. Where was that sentence at? I wanted to say something about it. Interesting in it are willing on their part to place it on a footing satisfactory to the government and equal to the purpose of the Bank of the United States, equal to the purpose of the Bank of the United States. Now, it said that, let me go back up. From its original relation, right? Its original relation to the government of the United States, and from the services it has rendered, and from the services that it has rendered. If the bank is put there and put in place for the service to what? The people, right? The service to who? What did it say? It said the American independence owes much to it. The American independence owes much to the service of the bank, right? If the American independence owes much to the service of the bank, that means that the banking services must have been producing positive effects for the American independence, right? Properly using their fiduciary responsibilities, opening it up as a securities exchange company per se, to make sure that they are operating efficiently. So if it was the independence of the American people prior and offering a service, its service as being rendered, right? Then what's the purpose of the bank? Do you know how to use the bank properly? That's the question. Let's go.
To the purposes of a Bank of the United States, but its cooperation would naturally accelerate the accomplishment of the great object, and the collision, which might otherwise arise, might, in a variety of ways, prove equally disagreeable and injurious. The incorporation and union here contemplated may be effected in different modes, under the auspices of an act of the United States, if it shall be desired by the Bank of...
You got to even think, right? I tell people it's very good to use your common sense, right? Think about this. If a bank is a private corporation, right? Then why are they associated with the United States Treasury Department? Why are all banks associated with the United States Treasury Department? Why is it that all banks are insured through the FDIC, the Federal Depository Insurance Company, the Federal Depository Insurance Company? Why are the banks insured through the Federal Depository System? That ties back to what? The Treasury Department. But what would a private banking association have to do with the Treasury Department? Because isn't the Treasury Department associated with your trusts that are set up through your Social Security If your social security is what opens up your bank account, they can't open the account without their social security number. That security is what? Anyone know? I'm gonna see if anybody remember what that security is. I've told you guys this many times. Let me check in the chat. I know it's only a few people in here today. Anybody remember what exactly is a social security card? What have I told you guys a social security card is? Anybody know? Give you guys a second. Let me put it in the chat. That's right. That's right. That's right, sis. Sis know where I'm going with this. Of course, sis know where I'm going with this. Okay. Studious, sis. Yes. Yes, sis. That's right. That's right. It's an account. It is a credit card specifically. A social security system is a social credit system that goes back to the blockchain that is associated with the federal depository insurance that is associated with the treasury. So, now, if your social security, right, your social credit system, your social security, your social credit system is associated with your bank, right? The bank is insured through the Federal Depository Insurance Company. You have insurance on your account. When you set an account up, there's insurance on your account, right? Why do you have insurance set up on your account? If it's a private organization, I ain't gonna get this drip unless you're in my class. That class that that you learn. So right, but I'm giving you the hints. Take notes and learn. I do this for free. I ain't trying to get at nobody. But I mean, I've taken so many days of lost sleep and this and that for all of this information. I don't mind sharing, but I'm not gonna just lay it out on the silver platter, walk it to you while you sitting at the table with your feet crossed, hand it over to you, and then just walk away. Then when you're done, I got to come take your hand, lead you out the door. See, this is what I'm not going to do, right? Use your thinking and try to imagine the things I try to break down to give you the pure light of it. I mean, it can't get no easier than this, y'all. If you ain't got it by there, I don't know what to say. But let's
North
go.
America, upon terms which shall appear
Study
expedient
to
to
show
the
yourself
government.
approved.
As far as can be ascertained, however, the management of the bank took no steps in accordance with the suggestions of the report.
Sis.
The quiet and prosperous business in which they were engaged
Every time.
under state auspices was to them preferable
Touch
to
it
the
is money.
anxieties and hazards which would probably attend a new national undertaking. The scheme of a separate institution was, therefore, rapidly 1790 Treasury Report of 1790. Hamilton's Works, Volume 1791 pushed forward, and on February 19, 1791, the Lurst Bank of the United States began its corporate existence.
We're going to get to the next book in a minute. I ain't going to be 3-4 hours today. We're going to try to keep it down to an hour and a half, possibly. Let's see. Did I get to the exact right page? No, I passed it. Okay, hold on a second, guys. Let's see, we can try. We're going to read the last maybe 6-7 pages. I want y'all to see the notes. Hold on. Okay, we'll start here. Hopefully we can get through to the end. Let's go right here.
1 SGL Directors Minutes, May 23, 1861. Ibid, July 23, 1861. Ibid, August 17, 1861. Ibid, September 25, 1861. Ibid, November 19, 1861. Ibid. December 31, 1861. 18G2 Ibid. February 28, 1862. Ibid. July 3, 1862. 3. The following May it agreed, in common with the other banks of the city, to subscribe for its pro rata share of United States Treasury notes. In July it loaned to the United States directly the sum of $100,000 in coin for 60 days, at 6% interest, agreeing that the advance might be returned either in kind or in 7.30 notes. In August it subscribed $400,000 for these same 7.30 notes, and in September took its pro rata share of $50 million on the same security.
On the same
in November, it subscribed for its pro rata share of $5 million in the United States. In July, it loaned to the United States directly the sum of $100,000 in coin for 60 days, at 6% interest, agreeing that the advance might be returned either in kind or in 7.30 notes. In August, it subscribed $400,000 for these same 7.30 notes, and in September took its pro rata share of $50 million on the same security. In November, it subscribed for its pro.
I want y'all to make sure, don't let that go over your head now. You keep in mind, they're going to give you the information, but you're not going to be able to really see it unless you comprehend. So I want to make sure you see it, right? It says 50 million on the same security, security. Wait a minute. I thought we were talking about money here. I thought we were talking about funds here. I thought we were talking about, those type of things, right? So why are they talking about securities? Why are they talking about bonds? Why are they talking about securities and bonds and securities? Doesn't make sense. It says in November, it subscribed for its pro rata, the share of 500,000 in the United States with 6% bonds. Bonds, you say. It doesn't say cash. It says the amount and the value was bonds. And it also says right here that 50 million was the same in security. So we're talking about security and we're talking about bonds here, right? Don't let that go over your head. Let's go.
Rate a share of $5 million in United States 6% bonds.
Peace, yeah.
On December 31, 18G1, the bank was forced, in common with the other banking institutions of the country, to suspend the payment of specie. But this occurrence by no means diminished either its ability or its disposition to aid. On February 28, 1862, it made an advance to the Treasury of $300,000 at live percent interest, on condition that the amount should be returned on 10 days' notice, in kind.
So they decided that, hey, we're going to just take an advance to the Treasury, right? We're going to make an advance to the Treasury of $300,000 at a 5% interest rate on the condition that the amount should be returned in 10 days. So we just going to borrow money. Take money, with this money we don't have. Now, mind you guys, this just, if you're not familiar with what's going on or what has been going on with Trump, this is something that they were getting at him about, basically, using money he didn't really have, saying it's, I don't want to get to that whole story. It's a lot with that, but either way, this is the same thing that was going on. So what's wrong with it? What's illegal with it, right? You guys are illegal with it because you're taking from the Treasury, and the Treasury belongs to who? We the people. We ain't say we want to loan y'all shit. We didn't tell y'all that, hey, we want to loan them this money. Go ahead, give them that $50 million, I mean, like, what? Are you serious? So this is what they were doing. So now taking the funding, and they had these foreign corporations that are set up, they're bringing them in, and they're having them, set the foreign corps on the land, and at the same time, these same foreign corporations, they're giving them funding or bonding so that they can create industry, so on and so forth. And then after they getting things, the people to come in to invest, when they say, hey, come on over here, look, they come in, and then now these people are able to get the funding through the federal government for a program doing certificates of participation and articles of incorporation. setting up a system through the federal government so that they can fund the foreign corporation. Some of them fund themselves. Some have, funding that they come in with, but very few. Most of them go through the system, right? And they do a borrowing. And then once they start making the money back, they can pay it back. If not, there's some other things I don't want to get into here, but yeah, let's go. It stopped. Okay, hold on.
One SGL directors, $50 million on the same security.
On
In
the
November,
same
it
security.
subscribed
Look.
for its pro
On
rata
the
share
same
of $5
security too, just to clarify. 50 million on the same security.
million in United States 6%
Using the same security,
bonds.
keep borrowing off like y'all got
On
something.
December 31, 18G1, the bank was forced, in common with the other banking institutions of the country, to suspend the payment of specie. But this occurrence by no means diminished either its ability or its disposition to aid the national cause. On February 28, 1862, it made an advance to the Treasury of $300,000 at live % interest, on condition that the amount should be returned on 10 days' notice, in kind. On July 3, $300,000 more were invested in United States securities.
Oh, securities?
On July 28, at a meeting of the directors, the following resolutions were unanimously adopted. Whereas,
they borrow from securities, right, to purchase new securities under the United States Corp to build up a fake ass corp. Is y'all hearing this? They mad because Trump followed their ass. He seen what they did. He have records from his family because they were involved. His family was involved with doing a lot of stuff to us as well. So, but they have a lot of information they've taken. So Trump did the same thing. They got mad. Now they trying to take him to court on it. How y'all doing that? And the whole United States damn court did the same thing. Are you people crazy?
Bank was instituted in 1781 to aid the colonies in their struggle for independence, and whereas, it has ever since prospered under the government it assisted in creating. /EPT
It assisted in creating.
And whereas, in carrying out the policy of making contributions to such objects only as are within its legitimate sphere, the stability of the government is most essential to the interests of the stockholders. It is, therefore, resolved, that the sum of $5,000 be contributed by the bank, and disposed of in such manner as the President may deem most expedient to assist the government in maintaining its integrity. During the year 1863 the same policy was pursued. During the month of May the sum of $600,000 was invested in United States 12-month certificates. In July the sum of $40,000 was loaned to the state to aid in the payment of its troops. In the same month 500,000 more of United States 12-month certificates were taken, and in November the sum of $100,000 was invested in the United States 7.30 notes. On January 14, 1864, the President was authorized to advance at proper time still further sums on the United States 12-month certificates, but the amount of these securities held never exceeded at any one time $1.5 million. Nor was the mere advancing of money to the government the only method which the bank took of testifying its patriotism. It advanced at various times to individuals no less than $2 million on the deposit of United States securities as 1862 Directors' Minutes, July 28, 1802.
Y'all see this? Y'all see what I just was telling you what they're doing? It says during the year of 1863, the same policy was pursued. During the month of May, the sum of $600,000 was again invested in the United States with 12-month certificates, right? Look, y'all see this. Let me put this in the chat. Yeah, told you. Taking the securities, which was, they didn't have no money. So they're taking the securities, so-called getting a loan, banks that they created with their families, creating these banks that tied the banks into our Treasury Department, the Treasury that we had set up originally through our governance. Them making the banks and creating the banks, this is how they got to turning into gold later and all of that. That's a little later, about 160, 70 years later. So now taking these securities to create fake security loans You know, my cousin got a bank, this cousin got a bank, my uncle and daddy, they own the treasury that they created, which is a private organization. It's not really associated with the true treasury of the people. So now they take these banks, use the banks to cipher, and at the same time, they can build the United States corporation off of the funding of the people, which is through the real treasury. The treasury system they tie into their Federal Reserve and the United States Treasury being linked so that they can use the federal system to tie into our treasury, right? Study creating debt. This is why on the world debt clock, showed you guys the debt clock, it keeps going up. It never stops. They consistently trade you on the market like a slave. Literally, you are chattel. You are labeled as chattel. So now they have you on the market and they're labeling you as chattel. They have you going. They have your system consistently running through one market to the next. Hey, I got this security. You want to make a trade on it? Sure. What you got? Give me 10%. I'll give you a portion of it. Boom. They trading it. So somebody else get it. Another company get it. They do the same thing. You know, once they get your information, it's like it's nothing. It's disgusting, literally. I don't know if people know how serious this is and how you're being taken advantage of, how they have done your ancestors, and how you need to be doing something about it. It's so freaking important. All right, let's go.
863 Ibid, May 18th and 28 to the power of 1863rd. Ibid, Joel 27, 1863. Ibid, November 2, 1863. 1864 Ibid, January 14. 1364 Directors Minutes, May 20, 1864. See Appendix. Letter, Thomas Smith, ESQ, President of the Bank, to Hon. Hugh McCulloch, Controller, etc., November 1, 1864. See Appendix. Collateral. And in order to stimulate the employees to volunteer for the national defense, it was resolved by the directors.
Collateral. Where'd they get the collateral from? We just went through that, right? The collateral to fund all these things that came through what? The treasury, the people's funding.
That the salaries of all clerks who might be absent on the service of the state, or of the United States, should be continued as though no...
And just to clarify, I don't know if you understand this, they're putting themselves in the position. By doing this now, they have the workers, they've set up the system, they have the workers that they hire to work in these places, right? To be the clerks and so on and so forth. These are what? Administrators. I showed you guys yesterday. All these people are administrators. All court systems are administrators. They're administrative system, and they're supposed to administrate things properly, right? So now when they put the people in the place of the administration, they have the administration, and now they are ruling over the documents so that they can what? Make sure they're done correctly. That's your job, right? You're supposed to be taking care of all administration properly, so on and so forth. Now, mind you, it's only going to work if a person knows how to administrate themselves in the proper way. If you're efficient in handling your affairs and doing what you need to do, studying to show yourself approved, having a clear understanding, then now you are able to walk into that place as an administrator yourself, because you have an estate, right? Don't you understand that a trust is a estate? I told you guys, look up the Weiss Handbook, W-E-I-S-E. E-I-S-E, W-E-I-S-E. I think that's it. Just put in Google search or say it. Weiss Concise Handbook. Say the Weiss Concise Handbook. It's a trust book. It'll explain to you guys everything I keep telling you. So now your trust is set up. Once they have your trust set up in the system, they're able to operate and use your paperwork, which are your securities, and using that system to go ahead and fluctuate everything through it, correct? So now when you have your system, and your system is set up to do administrative process, right? This is why it's your job to serve the people, right? You're a public servant for a reason, including the judges, right? It's very important to understand that. So when you're going into court, instead, I don't want to go to court, I'm scared. Stand in yourself and who you are. First off, who are you, right? You know your power, you know your strength. Who are you, right? Your job is to administrate this proceeding. In administration, we the people, right? Since the state is obligated to the people, whose responsibility is it to handle this matter? Handle it how? Well, handle it administratively. That's the only way you're supposed to do it, right? That's what the court is for. It's to handle administrative affairs. So if you're not instructing, pay close attention. If you're not instructing uh, them on the administration they should be performing with your particular case, how would the judge know what to do? They gonna just go by what they, see on the surface. But that's the last thing I'm gonna say on that. But let's go.
Interruption to their daily labors had taken place. In October 18G4, a correspondence was opened with the controller of the currency in Washington, looking to the reorganization of the institution as a national bank, under the National Currency Act, passed by Congress June 3, 1864. A step more in keeping with the traditions and history of the bank, it would be hard to conceive. Created by Congress, and fostered under national auspices, it was only by the force of circumstances, and the unfortunate prevalence of the state rights feeling, that it had been forced into the position of a state institution. It had already given ample evidence of its loyalty to the national cause. It had advanced $4.5 million.
Cause. Its loyalty to the national cause.
4.5 times the amount of its capital stock on United States securities, and it now embraced the opportunity.
Stock on United States securities. What securities, guys? What securities are they talking about? You even got to answer. Put a 1 in the chat if you understand when they say the capital on the stock on the United States securities. What securities are they talking about?
Of resuming its former
Can't
timid
get no
relations
clearer
with
than
the
this.
national government. Much feeling, however,
I think
prevailed,
they done went to sleep.
both among the directors and the stockholders, against any change in the old corporate title of the Bank of North America. It was felt by them that the addition of the word national, as
Y'all
was
don't get it. Not
customary
a 1
on
in the
becoming
chat.
a
Let me
national
explain
bank,
this. Hold on.
was,
I'm
in the
gonna go
case
back.
of the bank, timid relations with the national government.
Okay. Now it says here. Let's go back.
A state institution.
It said it had advanced $4.5 million or 4.5 times. Listen, $4.5 million. And then it says or. Why is it saying or? Pay attention. Or 4.5 million times the amount of its capital stock. Oh, the amount of its stock. So we're not talking about cash here, right? They letting you know. It says or because, see, they had to change. Because, see, what it says is first they tried to trick you. Because, see, if you're not thinking and you're not paying attention, you're not going to catch it. It says it had advanced $4.5 million. Right? And then it says or 4.5 times the amount of its capital stock, letting you know, well, it's dollars or it's this. Listen, because why? They have to put that in there because it's literally the stock. I just told y'all the capital of stock. They got 4.5 million. They borrowed in capital stock, and they borrowed it where? On the United States securities, right? Yeah. Put a 1 in the chat if y'all got it now.
Institution. These of the word national, as was customary on becoming a national bank, was, in the case of the Bank of North America,
sleep, y'all bored,
both unnecessary and ill-advised.
Y'all not.
Its original national name conferred upon it by Congress.
I really need to know.
Well
only y'all say, okay, I feel you. Anybody else need a clearer understanding of that? Like, can y'all let me know? Somebody put a 1 in the chat as well. I only see one person out of how many people on here? Let me see. Come back over. 23 people in here. And it's only 1. So 22 of y'all didn't get that. At least 3-4 more people should let me know if y'all got that. If not, we need to really clarify that if y'all don't get it. I keep showing y'all. I'm telling y'all. Same thing from yesterday. The same information that should have clarified everything for you. Telling you that what? These people in administration are your servants. They're supposed to service you. Who? Who are you? We, the people of the United States. Period. God dang. Davion, what do you mean? First Federal Bank of Danville, Illinois. Yes. That's all the banks are federal. What are you saying though about it? Tying back to the reserve and the treasury. That's right. That's right. Yeah. Thank you, sis. Come on, somebody. I just need to make sure, cause shit, if y'all ain't got it, I want to make sure we clarify it. I will go back. Y'all know. Maybe the third, some people don't always understand or understand it, right? Y'all know I like to do things or say things sometimes 3 times to make sure that it is reaffirmed in your mind. It will now be reaffirmed in your mind. If we don't have the clarity, we can definitely do it. We read it 3 times. I said it and read it. So I just want to make sure we own it. That's right, sis. Okay, let's go then. We got about 45 minutes, 40 more minutes out of here before we get to this. I want to read a little bit more of this.
Original national character document had always been, and still continue to be, matters of great pride to those interested in the institution. These views were presented at great length to the controller of the currency in a letter from the president of the bank, but failed at first to meet with his approbation. On November 14, 1834, the stockholders met to consider the propriety of becoming a national bank. The requisite two-thirds vote approving.
Stockholders. Now, so these stockholders, the ones that invested from the treasury of the funds of the people, are now going to open their banks and use these stocks of the people and to create these banks to be a service to the people. Make this make sense. Y'all listen.
The change was readily obtained. It was resolved that the state charter should be surrendered, that new articles of association should be executed, that the bank should reorganize under the provisions of the Act of Congress, and that the assets of the old corporation should be transferred to the possession of the new. These changes.
Is that the bankruptcy that I showed you guys in the World Court? This is possibly, showing you the one of the particular times they went bankruptcy, because they did bankruptcy 4 times. You take all this money from the people, put the world in debt for millions and billions and trillions of dollars, steal money, open up departments, create these national disasters, 911 disasters. Remember, creating these things to hide the theft of $3 trillion, right? That they had taken, right? Once it was exposed that $3 trillion was missing from the Department of Defense, they decided that they gonna cause a national disaster that'll be talked about for years to come. That was gonna make everybody forget about that. The shit, they forgot all about that. The Bloomfield guy, I don't know what happened to him. I don't think I even heard no more from him after he reported on that. Once it was exposed, it was like, whoa, that's crazy, right? All these things, all this money they take, and they take from the people. They do whatever they want to. They trade, they bribe people, they make these treasonous relationships with foreign people, so on and so forth. So in doing all of this, they then will go bankrupt and do it again. Start getting your money again. How we gonna do it? Take the money from the people. Have them apply for a vehicle, have them apply for a house, have them apply for a rent. Shit, we can create renter centers and all these organizations. Once we create all these places, these people start going to it. Shit, that's more stock. We have them filling out 3 or 4 stocks. Getting one from, they went to, they applied for an apartment, they applied for a new car, they went and started a new job. Then they went to renter center to fill up the house for the new house that they got. That's 5 things they did. That's 5 different stocks that's being traded out to at least 10 people. Damn, that's a lot of money. You think about that money that they just took from you? Man.
Were at once affected. In November, a committee of the directors was dispatched to Washington to deposit the necessary securities, and immediately after the bank began business in its new national character.
Right, the 12 banks.
The result of the correspondence with the controller of the Treasury, already described, was to induce him at length to consent to the retention by 1518 G4C Appendix. Stockholders' Minutes, November 1804 Directors' Minutes,
Period.
and November 23, 1864. 18 as to the bank of its old corporate title, without the prefix national. In this action he was largely influenced by a memorial signed by the presidents of most of the other Philadelphia banks, expressing their entire approval of the scheme for leaving. The title unchanged. It is believed that this is the only instance in the country where a similar permission was extended. A century lies now passed away since the Bank of North America first opened its doors. It has lived to see a weak confederation of states grow into a great and prosperous nation. It has witnessed periods of unbounded commercial prosperity and the title unchanged. It is believed that this is the only instance in the country where a similar permission was extended. A century lies now passed away since the Bank of North America first opened its doors. It has lived to see a weak confederation of states grow into a great and prosperous nation.
The Confederate of States, right? So they'll tell you the state of incorporating themselves into your sovereign state, because you know, and once again, I'm gonna tell you guys that the 50 states are sovereign. Only those 6 states, well, United States, District of Columbia, is Washington, Washington D.C., Virgin Islands, Hawaii, Puerto Rico. I think it's 1 or 2 others. I can't remember the other ones, but we went over them before. I showed you guys the list. And so the other 50 states, they don't even have nothing to do with the United States court. Literally nothing. They continue to hire new corporations in states and set up states. That's why it's always the state of Texas. The state of, shit, why is it of? I thought this was Texas. The state of Illinois. Wait a minute. Illinois been over here forever. So why is it the state of? What state? All state of belong to the federal government, tying you into their system of incorporation through what? What system they using? What do you guys think? The post office and your address, having you listed as a resident. You're a resident. Even if you got a mortgage, if you got a deed, they say you own, you own this house, you buying this house. They always tell you own the house, you buy a house. How I own this house, and I'm steady paying you some money every month. What sense do that make? How the hell does that even make common sense? Oh my gosh. So I'm paying you for these things through the securities that were set up, because what I applied that security, right? The security applied. I applied it with what? My social credit. Through what? My social security blockchain. Coming through my system of security that my mom set up with these people, tying me into what? The treasury, right? That's what they're talking about. That's what they're talking about. That's what they're talking about. Where's that? Devion put it in the chat. Let me go to the chat. Yeah. Yep, the first charter. All the beneficiaries, the biggest banks. Now this was the Bank of North America. Now they extended themselves. Shit, they just the Bank of America. Period. The whole America, not just they ain't got they done restructured shit so many times after each bankruptcy, making a new name. Once you create a new name, that's a whole new court. I don't care if it's similar or not. You put something, you could put a symbol in it, and it's gonna change the whole name to something else. So now you go incorporate it under something else. Now the Bank of America, they could take your money, swipe your funds, go in people's boxes. Do y'all remember a couple of years ago, or did you guys hear that the Bank of America actually went into people's the boxes, the bank boxes, their boxes in their banks? Somebody put it in the chat. I don't know how it slipped in my mind. You know what I'm talking about? The bank. The bank, when you have the box with the lock box at the bank. When you have the box at the bank, right? This is your private stuff. Nobody's supposed to touch that. They got to get a warrant to go in somebody's box. Do y'all know that the Bank of America stole these people's stuff? They went in these people's box and took stuff that who knows what they had in there. Cash, gold, things from their ancestors, all type of jewelry. Yeah, they just took the people's stuff. Wasn't nothing more said about it. You heard it for about 2 months they was talking about it. Then next thing you know, you didn't hear no more about it. And then one of the bank managers I was talking to about it, and he was telling me how it's best to have insurance, because he said one of their banks so-called flooded out. Listen to this. He said, oh yeah, the bank flooded out. The bank flooded out. Oh yeah, and all this stuff. So even though the stuff flooded out, why wasn't it still there wet? I don't understand. I'm confused. How did the people's stuff just come up missing? Y'all think these people ain't treacherous? Come on, y'all. Let's start this book back because we got about 30 more minutes.
As wit.
I didn't even get to the other
Nest
book.
periods
Lord,
of unbounded commercial
this is getting
prosperity
so
and
good,
others
though.
of
We want
most
y'all to see.
deplorable distress. But throughout all it has never failed, by the maintenance of a sound financial policy, to command the respect and esteem of the mercantile and financial world. As long as it retains these, it may look forward with well-grounded confidence
Thank
to
you,
a
sis.
future of undiminished prosperity and
Yes.
usefulness.
Safety
Appendix.
deposit boxes.
A list of the presidents, cashiers, and directors of the Bank of North
Supposed to be a
America from
safety.
its foundation to the present time. Presidents. Name.
Okay, we're gonna stop there. We don't care about their damn name, and I'm not gonna read the other part because I want to show y'all get to some of this other book, guys. Literally. So let me get to it real quick. Yeah, the safety deposit boxes says yes. Those people right there says yes, Lily. Yes, definitely my pleasure, babe. Yes, you already know. I want y'all to be open to truth. Know what's going on. Nobody can pull the wool over your eyes. Especially when your eyes are full of light. Shit, you're gonna see right through the wool because we are here to do that, right? I'm hoping that I can help you guys. It's my pleasure to assist anybody in busting down those portals in their mind because there's so many mazes out here for you to be disorientated with. Yep. Wow, that's crazy. It's so easy for you to be disoriented when you're in a maze, right? A maze of confusion. And let's think of two things that could happen. You're going through a maze, boom, you hit a wall. You always hitting the wall. There's so much confusion. You're going in circles all the time. That can make you dizzy. They want you to be like that because see when that's going on, you don't have a clear mind, right? You're not able to focus if you don't have a clear mind. You cannot focus. You cannot think. You cannot think with the light of yourself. Your information that you have inside of you because you're so full of information. You're like a master computer, literally. All the cells of your ancestors, all the information that has been obtained from them is also inside of you. Only you can unlock those things though, because when you unlock those things, it opens up more information for you. It opens up the flow of energy via the binary code. Binary code can only be unlocked with a certain frequency. There's a certain frequency of energy that you emit through the plasma light in your blood that actually give the ignition to the fire light energy that can open that binary frequency code up. This is so serious. Yes. Distractions. We're right about that. Let me not get distracted. Let's finish, guys. We only got too much time here.
1180 to 1100, the death of Moses. The leadership of the nation fell to Joshua, an Ephraimite, trained in the arts of warfare and in statecraft.
True.
Under his command, the people, organized for military attack, crossed the Jordan at a fordable place facing Gilgal. The strongly fortified Jericho C Moon-city, dedicated to the worship of the moon, with its double ring of walls, previously destroyed in the 16th century and then rebuilt, was carried by a successful assault. The gateway to the broad plateau in the center of the land was thus opened. Here the tribe of Judah separated from the northern tribes. 1180 to 1100, the death of Moses. The leadership of the nation fell to Joshua, an Ephraimite, trained in the arts of warfare and in statecraft. Under his command, the people, organized for military attack, crossed the Jordan at a fordable place facing Gilgal. The strongly fortified Jericho C Moon-city, dedicated to the worship of the moon, with its double ring of walls, previously destroyed in the 16th century and then rebuilt, was carried by a successful assault. The gateway to the broad plateau in the center of the land was thus opened. Here the tribe
The gateway to the broad plateau in the center of the land was thus opened. Listen, y'all. Here it comes. Here the tribe of Judah separated from the northern tribes. Y'all ain't gonna understand how important this build is today. Pay attention, y'all. Let's go.
Judah separated from the northern tribes. While Simeon and the friendly nomadic tribe of the Canaanites advanced from the southwest or south, the men of Judah marched from the north to conquer the southern hill country. The Jebusite king of Jerusalem met them in battle. He was wounded and carried by his people to his residence. Caleb and Othniel succeeded in dislodging the Canaanites from Hebron and Debir. The superior tactics of the inhabitants of the coastal plain, who could move against the invaders with their iron chariots, prevented further occupation of the country down the hills. The Jebusite stronghold and the whole northern belt remained likewise in the hands of the Canaanites. The isolation of Judah was thus made effective for some time to come. The northern tribes succeeded to the national title of Israelites. Grouped about the sons of Joseph and the Ephraimite leader, they were at first driven off as they climbed the ascent to Ai, but soon the city was taken by a stratagem. Bethel fell into their hands through the treachery of one of the inhabitants, who betrayed to the Israelite scouts the most advantageous point for an assault. Gibeon with its Joshua neighboring localities surrendered peacefully. Adoni-Zedek, the king of Jerusalem, organized a coalition of his brother kings against the Israelites and their allies, the Gibeonites. A battle was fought in the valley of Ajalon. In the descent from Upper to Nether Beth Horon, the fleeing Confederates were caught in a hailstorm. The Israelites pursued the enemy relentlessly. It was a decisive victory for Israel. The day of Gibeon was celebrated in a song, which told how the sun stood still and haste not to go down about a whole day, until the nation had avenged themselves of their enemies. The heart of the country,
Who got that strength?
the central range, was now saved for Israel.
Who got that? Hold on. I want y'all to hear
Forests
that
of
part
the higher
again.
ridges were cut down to afford more relentlessly. Joshua neighboring localities surrendered peacefully. Adoni-Zedek, the king of Jerusalem, organized a coalition of his brother kings against the Israelites and their allies, the Gibeonites. A battle was fought in the valley of Ajalon. In the descent from Upper to Nether Beth Horon, the fleeing Confederates were caught in a hailstorm. The Israelites pursued the enemy relentlessly. It was a decisive victory for Israel. The day of Gibeon was celebrated in a song, which told how the sun stood still and haste not to go down about a whole day, until the nation.
Who can make the sun stop? How many times y'all ain't gonna hear this part, but I'm gonna still say it for those that do. How many times have I told y'all, if we had the correct energy to do what we need to do, so on and so forth, we can like literally control this ether because we're part of it. You have to be in tune with yourself first off. Right, then you can be in tune with everything around you that is a part of you. Let's start there, right? Then you have the energies of each and every individual. I told you about the manifestation that we did a year and a half ago. It was about 15 of my subs. We all did it, and manifestation was like just like that. Like I showed them. I just wanted them to see for themselves. Everybody didn't participate. I'm sorry you didn't, but either way. Did y'all hear what it just said? It said the Israelites pursued the enemy relentlessly, never giving up. Y'all know that's us. It was a defense. It was a decisive victory for Israel. The day of Gideon was celebrated in a song, which told how the sun stood still and hastened not to go down about a whole day until the nation had avenged themselves of their enemies. Who only y'all don't know who gonna do that?
Had avenged themselves of their enemies.
No more.
The heart of the country, the central range, was now safe for Israel. The forests of the higher ridges were cut down to afford more soil for the settlers. The leading tribe was Ephraim, in whose territory lay Shechem, where the people assembled for common action, and Shiloh, the resting place of the ark. Manasseh dwelt further north, towards the Great Plain, but the plain itself remained in the possession of the Canaanites. The northern country, Galilee, was opened up to the other tribes after a concerted onslaught by the king of Hazor and his confederates was thwarted at the waters of Merom. A good part of the country was thus occupied, but the conquest was in its merest beginnings. The Egyptian overlord by no means relinquished his hold upon the land. Ramses III, 1198 to 1167, vigorously maintained his Syrian dominions. The struggle between the Israelites and the dispossessed Canaanites appeared to the pharaohs as an internal feud, so long as the conquerors in their domains and the unsubjected Canaanites in their territories paid their tribute. No attempts were made to interfere on the side of the one against the other. But soon the Egyptian control of Palestine and Syria grew to be shadowy in the extreme. Israel gained a footing in the land, now by bloody warfare, now by peaceful means. Mutual concessions and accommodations were not infrequent, but as often as one or the other part waxed stronger, there developed renewed friction. The coast was nowhere reached by the invaders. Within the Great Plain, with its 1,150 fortresses, Tanach, Megiddo, and Bethshan,
Mind you, back then, we're talking like years ago, right? Eons, you could say. During this time, this is when our people were spreading out, right? Everything open. It explained in the beginning. I don't know if anyone just came in, but it told how they, basically everything opened up in the north. So at that particular time, our people were spreading out at that time, right? So then they started encountering all these like wild ass people. Remember, we read it yesterday. It was talking about that they had to keep them out in the wilderness. They knew that they couldn't have these people coming amongst their people. They was practicing cannibalism, eating fish. They didn't know how to till no corn. They didn't know how to do nothing but be animals. Those was the savages, the wild men, right? So they didn't associate with these type people. So as they went further out, they started encountering more of these wild people. You know what I'm saying? So at this particular time, our people encountered a lot of things. But mainly there was a tribe. I told you guys before about Shabazz, King Shabazz, the tribe of Shabazz, right? So they were the ones that went out. They were the ones that actually cultivated Africa, went into Africa, cultivated it. They had all these different areas or whatever. People, I've tried to show this information before, but you guys have seen it if you recall the crate. I've told you guys about the crate sea, right? So the crate sea is where they crossed over. The Pales crossed over into Africa area, what they call Africa, which was Ambukula actually at the time, creating a new landscape. At that time, they wanted to cultivate it or whatever. This is Genghis Khan and what's the other guy's name? The cousin. There was a cousin, Genghis Khan, Mansa Musa. These are the relatives. These were their great grandfather, or what have you, at the time. Mansa Musa and Genghis Khan. So now they spread out. Mansa Musa came back to America. Like, hey, look, we did go out. My great grandfather, he done built the whole kingdom over there. We got it popping over there in Africa. Well, it was in Ambukula at the time. So they then come back, and then the ones that came back through Genghis Khan, he came back through the Orient area, and this is why you had all the dark Asians in that area, and he kind of stayed over there. He had, if you guys remember when I did the Falun Gong information and the Tirthankara information, Genghis Khan had like 100 children, because he had like 30, I can't remember the amount, I don't want to lie, but it was like 30 or 40 wives. So he kind of filled the whole continent of Asia. Just keep that in mind at the time. But let's go, guys. I got a little bit of time left. Let's go.
A formidable barrier. The Israelite territory was thus split up. Each tribe was left to carry on its own adventures. Yet the feeling that they all belonged together was not obliterated, but it required great emergencies and the weight of outstanding personalities to stir them to common action. The Canaanites once more gathered their forces to strike at Israel. The leading spirit of the new coalition was Sisera. On both sides of the plain of Jezreel the Israelites were harassed. All power of resistance seemed to be broken in them. Not a shield or spear was seen among 40,000 of Israel. Then there arose an inspired mother in Israel, Deborah. She summoned the leaders in Israel, at their head Barak son of Abinoam, to battle on behalf of their people and their God. Of Judah's participation there could be no thought. In the far north Dan and Asher were absorbed in mercantile pursuits. Across the Jordan, Reuben dallied irresolute among his sheepfolds and Gilead was indolently impassive. The other tribes, Ephraim, Benjamin, and Manasseh from the south, Zebulun, Naphtali, and Issachar from the north, met in the plain, where the enemy had massed his hosts near Tanach and Megiddo east of the Carmel, 1,150. The kings came, they fought, then fought the kings of Canaan, they took no gain of money. It was a combat in which no quarter was given or sought. Boldly did the Israelites rush upon the enemy, jeoparding their lives unto the death. So fierce was the onslaught that the Canaanites, with their chariots and horses, were put to rout in a wild panic. The very stars in their courses seemed to fight against them. In the heavy rainfall, swelling the brook Kishon, their flight was retarded. Sisera escaped on foot, he was parched with thirst. Pi chanced upon a nomadic encampment of Canaanites, the friends of Israel. At one of the tents he asked a drink of water. Jael, the heroic woman of the tent, recognized in him the tormentor of Israel. She offered him milk in a lordly bowl. The weary captain gulped it down. As he was overcome with drowsiness, Jael swiftly struck his head with a heavy hammer. At her feet he fell dead. Deborah, Ehud.
Okay, I'll get back to that another time. I want to show you guys something else. Okay, real quick before I get out of here. I showed this before. I don't ask me what live, because it's been about I think I did this like 2 years ago, talking about Simeon Toko. I want you guys to see this. I want y'all to understand the power that we as people have, in general, right? Put a 1 in the chat if you're familiar or recall us talking about him. If you guys are familiar with Simeon Toko, or if you are not, that's fine. But I want to go over this real quick. If you don't remember, that's fine. It's been a while. Okay, but let's go over real quick. The true third secret of Fatima revealed in the return of Christ. They was calling him the Christ. Mind you, what we know what the Christ is. It's not a person per se, or persona in a physical sense. Keep that in mind. I ain't gonna go through all that. It says by Pastor Mello Nazioti Joas, additional research by Roka Nefwani. Now, Simeon Kimbango was a prophet. It said left to rot and tortured in a prison. He died there on October of 1951 after 30 years. There are Africans alive at this writing who were brought back from the dead by Simeon Kimbango. And there are people still living who watched him do it, okay? To do. The claim is that Simeon healed the sick, made the lame walk, returned sight to the blind and hearing to the deaf, and even brought an infant that was dead for 3 days back to life. Listen, y'all. Kimbango performed these miraculous deeds over a period of 5 months, from May of 1921 through September 12th of 1921. The scholars do not dispute that this man performed these miracles. There is simply too much testimonial about it. Listen to this. I ain't gonna read this because I want to hurry up. Hold on. Let me go to the next one. Okay. According to Dr. Richard King, African origin in biological psychiatry, right? He states that the Africans have 5 to 15% calcified pineal glands, Asians 15 to 25%, Europeans 60 to 80%. Thus, the DMT from birth lasts until puberty. Now, when the pineal gland calcifies and no longer produces these particular chemicals, the pineal gland will still produce melatonin to regulate our particular sleep patterns, right? But it no longer secretes the 5-MeO DMT or the panoline. Now, mind you, I'm going to say something about this. This is why I tell you guys about the mead and all these different things. If you don't have the light and you have the crystalline, which is the Christos, that is the activation of the pineal gland. That is the torus field activation, as some people say. That is the aura being activated, as people say. That gives you the protection, because now you have formulated this particular amount of crystallization via pulling the enzymes and things that you need, right? And meat and things block these things, right? It literally blocks it, helps with the calcification. So DMT is formulated with the Christos, the crystallization, right? The realization, light information, light coding, the only important light coding that is transmutated through you being a water being, right? Being a copper, being able to activate this. You have the power, you have the strength. It's literally in you. If you didn't watch the document I did on the CIA called you the God or named you the God, you need to watch that literally to see your power. These people did test on you. Do y'all understand how serious this is? I don't think y'all really do. Y'all want to keep arguing about, let me shut up. Okay. Therefore, those with uncalcified pineal glands may release DMT throughout the Tantra, Kriya, yoga, heavy meditations, breathing exercise, etc. During a natural death experience and the pineal gland will release the last of the 5-MeO, DMT, and the DMT along with the pinealine, which is the penile line, once again, flooding the brain with these two particular chemicals. Oh, I thought I had, okay, I was going to say, I thought I had more things in here about him. Okay, the emergence of African avatars and the secret of Fatima. This is a book, or I think it was a PDF or either a story by Tom Dart in the Nexus it's in the magazine. Okay. Now, Simeon Toko. Listen, Simeon Toko was born on February 24th, 1918 to 1984. Simeon Toko appeared before people in apparitional body in dream states while he was physically alive and continued to do the same among certain selected people. 17 years after his natural death, at least one witness says he personally killed Simeon Toko quite professionally as a hired killer. Listen to this. And he saw him alive again a few days later. Others still living at this writing say that they saw Toko physically slaughtered. They saw him physically slaughtered and watch him bring himself back to life before their eyes. Listen, guys, Simeon Toko unleashed his army. The event was witnessed by thousands of people on January the 4th of 1959. This wasn't too long ago. On that particular day, the cherubim and the seraphim, listen, the cherubim and the seraphim, do you guys know about the cherubim and the seraphim? I'm going to stop right here before I even finish this. Let me see. Anybody know what we're talking about right here? Anybody know what we're talking about right here? This is the same event that happened with, what's his name? Elijah. I think Elijah in the Bible, you hear the story. Where they came down from heaven to help him. They were riding on chariots coming from the sky to help him. What is his name? Was it Isaiah or was it Daniel? Yeah, I'm very bad with names, especially when it comes to these Bible names. I think it was Isaiah. If anyone knows the story, put it in the chat for me. Yes, the dragon, literally the dragon. What they don't want you to associate with, because that's the power. The power that come behind you. Think it's a game. Right? So this happened before. It's been mentioned in the Bible where they literally came from the heavens to assist. The army came and defeated the Haitian army. It was the Haitian prince and the French army. They literally came down from the heavens. These people were scared out their mind. They went back and told the king they ain't going to battle him no more. Come on, y'all. Y'all got to learn some of this studies on some weird stuff that be happening. Now, the citizens of this town saw an army of about 1,000 very small men. 1,000 very small men. Listen, that's what happened. I've shown y'all pictures. And people say it's spots. I showed y'all they done came down when I needed some information. My mind wasn't right. I was just studying. I wasn't getting sleep. It was certain things I was looking for. I couldn't find information on. Literally, I done showed y'all the pictures. I ain't even got to get into it. Let's go. I showed these two examples because this is what we can do. We can also do when we expand our mind. Listen, connecting the left and the right brain, right? When you connect the left and the right brain, this is what gives you the telepathic abilities. This is what gives you the light-centered information, connecting the left and the right hemisphere of the brain. You can only do this through certain meditative practices, guys. I showed you guys. I'm telling you, you got to go look at that CIA document, verifying everything I've been telling y'all since I've been on YouTube. Okay, anyway, let's go. We expand our minds beyond the average 10% usage, right? Quantum physicists have stated that the average person only uses 10% of their brain. That's because they cut off what? The oxygen at your birth, right? Cutting off the placenta, removing 1/3 of your oxygen, which causes brain damage. This is why they tell you, yeah, you're only using 10% of your brain, because they know how much they cut off. The linear portion, DMT from birth lasts until puberty. When the pineal gland calcifies and no longer produces these chemicals, the pineal gland will still produce the melatonin, right? We just read that. Okay, hold on. I had it in here twice. I'm sorry, guys. Hold on. This is another guy, same thing. Had these powers, so on and so forth. I don't want to read his story too much, but I just want to show you guys. Oh, wait, let me get back to this. About the size of children or dwarf with many. Oh, I think this is in here backwards, guys. Hold on. It is. But I want to get to. Okay, I just want to show y'all really Simeon Toko. I had some other information on him, but I'm going to leave it at that. But peace, love, and bliss, guys. I told you guys I was definitely going to be out here today. I got to go. Daniel, thank you, sis. Daniel. It was Daniel in the Lion's Den. Yes, sis. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Yes. And it was in the book of Enoch when it talks about him walking to the edge of the earth, proving that the earth is flat, things of that nature. But yeah, that's neither here nor there. I don't want to get into all of that, but peace, love, and bliss to everyone that came through. I appreciate you guys. You guys are awesome. You're the best. You are the best light, the best shining star that is literally walking down here on this planet. There's no fallen star more powerful than you. Stop giving light and energy to these false artificial stars out here, things of that nature. And yeah, peace, love, and bliss, guys. I'm out. Till next time.